Today we are learning about the converse of if-then statements and determining whether lines are parallel from given information. Okay? Does anybody know what converse means? I have an idea. Take a guess. It is a type of shoe. In geometry terms, what's converse mean?
Two segments have the same length and two segments are congruent.
That's not converse.
What?
What does converse mean? What do you think the converse of an if-then statement is? Any guesses? Converse means we are going to flip it, or first period like to say reverse it. Okay? So the then becomes the if, and the if becomes the then. So it's the opposite of the if-then statement. So the first statement, if two segments are congruent, then the two segments have the same length. So the converse of that would be what? If, so this then turns into if the two segments have the same length, then, this turns to then, two segments are congruent. So you're just flip-flopping the if and the then, okay? Then, once we do that, you got to say whether the converse is true or false. So here's the converse right here. If two segments have the same length, then the two segments are congruent. Is that a true statement?
I think so.
Yes, so that would be true. Okay? Go to this one. It wants us to write the converse of the true statement and then determine whether the converse is true. So if two angles have the same measure, then the two angles are congruent. Someone raise your hand and tell me what the converse would be. Alexa.
If the two angles are congruent, then two angles have the same measure.
Yep. So if, everyone needs to write this down, if the two angles are congruent, comma, then the two angles have the same measure. Now we got to say whether that's true. If the two angles are congruent, then the two angles have the same measure. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, because congruent means they're the same. So if they're both congruent, we can assume they have the same measure. So that one is true. Number two, if angle 3 and angle 4 are complementary, then their measures add up to equal 90. What would my converse be? Raise your hand. What would my converse statement be?
3 and 4.
Go ahead. What would the converse be?
3 and
Say the if statement.
If 3 and 4 are complementary, then they equal 90.
So that's the original statement. What would the converse of that be? That's okay.
If it's 90, then it's 3 and 4.
So remember, the then becomes the if.
Yep, angle 3 and 4 equal 90.
Yep.
Angle 3 and 4 are complementary.
There you go. If the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 equal 90, so I just flipped the then for the if, comma, then angle 3 and angle 4 are complementary. Now we got to say whether that's true or false. If measure of angle 3 and 4 are 90, then they are complementary. Is that true? True, because complementary means 90, so that would be true. Are we okay with converse? Okay, go ahead. Try this one. Write the converse and then say it, whether it's true or false.
Can you go back to that?
I can't. What's the converse for this one?
If 1, whatever that sign is, 2, then 1 and 2 are right angles.
Right angles. You still have to do.
Yep, if angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, this sign means congruent, comma, then angle 1 and angle 2 are right angles. Now you have to say whether it's true or false. Raise your hand if you put true.
I put true.
Raise your hand if you put true. Raise them high so I can see. Raise your hand if you put false. Raise your hand if you forgot to say true or false.
I did. I was
We didn't really forget, we just didn't know.
Okay, so let's read it together. If angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, then angle 1 and angle 2 are right angles. Could be, but can you assume?
No.
No, because does congruent mean automatically 90?
Yeah.
No. So this would be false.
Knew it.
So if you say it could be, you can't assume it's true.
That's why you're in here.
Okay?
That's why you're here.
Any questions with converse? All right, now we're going to get into more of our little friends over there. Okay? So we have our parallel lines. We got to determine whether these lines are congruent or not congruent, if they are parallel. How to tell if they're parallel is if those, the bottom four really, not disclude vertical. If the bottom four, if one of those is true, then they are parallel.
So everyone besides vertical?
Yes. And I'll explain why vertical is not when we get to an example. Okay, so on this one, what is our angle pair relationship? If you need to flip it to see it, go ahead. What is our angle pair relationship here?
Same side interior?
Close. So if I draw my box here, are they on the inside or the outside of the box? Both. So what's the automatic?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. What do we know about corresponding angle measures?
Automatically the same angle measure.
They are the same angle measure. Are these two the same?
Yes.
They're both 85. So that statement is true. So these are parallel. Yes. Moving on to this one.
I never liked you.
What is the angle pair relationship here? Hint, it's not up there. Linear pair. Do we know anything about this right here? Do we know anything about this line? No. So since we don't know anything about that parallel line or that other line, we cannot assume they are parallel. So this one would be no. Just like if it was vertical angles. If I had vertical angles over here, but there's nothing said about this line right here, we cannot say that they are parallel.
Damn.
Okay? So if you don't know anything about one of the lines, you cannot say that they are parallel. Okay? Moving on to this one, do we have enough information to say whether these are parallel or not?
Yes.
Yes.
How?
They're both 90-degree angles.
Right, but do they have an angle pair relationship?
Yes.
They don't.
No.
These aren't an angle pair relationship, but can we make it one?
Yeah, if one of them's 90, then all of them are 90.
If one of them is 90 in this area, all of these angles right here are 90. Okay? So wouldn't that be true for this over here?
Yes.
So are these parallel?
Yeah.
Yes. If one angle is 90, all four of them are 90. Okay? This one, what's our angle pair relationship? Go through this. Let's draw your box. Are the angles on the inside or the outside of the box? On the outside. So that would mean exterior. Now transversal, same side, opposite side. So that would mean alternate. So we have alternate exterior. What do we know about alternate exterior angles? They're the same. What do these little markings mean? They mean they're congruent. Those are congruent markings. So congruent means the same. So would this be true? Yes.
If you take a triangle and give it 4 right angles, it turns into
One more slide here. This is what we did yesterday. Pay attention. This will be on your test. This is what we did yesterday. State the angle pair relationship. What is the angle pair relationship with all of these?
They're all
Same side
equations.
interior.
Same side interior. With same side interior, how do we set these up? What do we know about their angle measures?
Well, one of them is 90.
They equal 180. So how do we set this up in an equation? Yep, both of the ways you said that. 70 plus 2x equals 180. Add them all up. Set them equal to 180.
Oh, wait, I was looking at never mind. I was looking at all 3 at once.
Every other time, what do we do? If it's alternate exterior, alternate interior, corresponding, any of those, how do we set those up? You set them equal to each other. Yep, this is the only one you set equal to 180. So what would our first step be to get to get x by itself?
Minus 70.
Minus 70 and then
Subtract
minus
70,
X equals 55.
so you get 2x equals 110, divide by 2,
Equals 55.
you get x equals 55. Okay, how would I set up number 9? They're still same side interior. 2x plus 4x equals 180. We're not going to go through it to solve. I just want to make sure we know how to set this up. Number 10, how would I set that up? Careful, you're missing one thing.
X plus 22 plus 90.
Plus 90 equals 180. Then you would solve those.
We have to.
Should be pretty comfortable with those. How we feeling? 1 to 5.